Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Our good friend Brian Cano is with us once again, coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess, Victoria Mundae, and down in the chat room, Alina, moderating the chat. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Our good friend Brian Cano is back with us, talking about history of the paranormal. Of course, everybody recognizes him from Paranormal Caught on Camera and back in the day, Haunted Collector. Very, very seasoned paranormal investigator, and he has his wonderful History of the Paranormal mobile exhibit that was just out there in Rhode Island, been traveling around the country. And I know Brian has a special announcement later this evening for us about that. But first of all, Brian, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be back. It's nice to meet you, Victoria.
Nice to meet you.
What's new? What's going on?
Do you want to listen?
Well, first and foremost, Brian, we have to talk about the new, what is it? The undisputed director's cut or whatever it is of Rocky IV. So he's got Rocky there. Yeah. Brian and I were both big Rocky fans, so we had a good conversation about the ultimate director's cut there when it came out the other what is it, a week ago now? Almost a week.
It feels a lot longer, but yeah, I think it was only a week, and I really had hoped to rope Stallone into the conversation. You saw I tweeted him. I'm like, okay,
yeah, it was a good try.
We're deconstructing and we are dissecting the director's cut. Sly, you want in?
A little hint. He's a little more interactive on Instagram, so I've gotten him to like on a couple of my comments on his posts before, and I'm like, cool.
We'll get him. You gotta.
We'll get him.
You gotta dog him.
Right.
You gotta do anything you gotta do to get that man to respond to your tweets.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Okay, so let's get into the paranormal here. Now we had our little, yeah. Okay. Yeah, now we got our Rocky out of us. So, Brian, what's going on? What's new with you? I mean, it seems like you've had a very busy year coming out of COVID. I've seen you at a couple of events here, and you have your mobile exhibit going on, and of course, Paranormal Caught on Camera. So it seems like you are still a very busy man.
You know, as much as the pandemic slowed down many of our colleagues in the fields, for me, I was already amidst a change of process. Instead of holding these big events that had lots of people and just cookie cutter and bringing a lot of people through, I decided that I wanted to have more intimate events, more boutique style events where maximum maybe 15 people. I wanted it to be a better experience for the attendees. I wanted them to be able to pay more attention to each one of them and help guide them and pass on what I've learned from the people that I've learned from. And I found that it's always a better experience when they don't feel like it's a cattle drive. So that being said, that happened just before COVID hit. I already started changing to that model. And once COVID restrictions said you can't have more than 15 people, I said, great, I don't want more than 15 people. We kept going. And even though it delayed the premiere of my history exhibit, those few months that we had to stand down from that first showing, I was able to upgrade and have a couple of more elements of it that made it better. So if anything else, it literally made me stronger. So when it premiered at the Merchants and Drovers Tavern Museum well over a year ago, we had a good showing, and it's literally been getting bigger and more immersive ever since.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the exhibit. Somebody, shows up. What can they expect to see? What can they expect to experience?
Well, the tagline for the entire exhibit is to move forward. Sometimes you have to look back. And looking back is what I want to do as I take people through the exhibit. Now, so many people are introduced to the paranormal via the TV shows, and that teaches them some process, shows them locations, shows them about the gadgets. But as I like to tell them, the paranormal existed before Jason and Grant. And even they know that they were standing on the shoulders of many people that had come before them. And my goal is to introduce attendees to the people, the places, some of the societies, and some of the concepts that are at the foundation of the paranormal. And if they leave knowing one more name or one more society or a concept or a story that then they tell a friend and then they tell a friend as it goes, we all advance together. We all grow stronger together.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people tend to forget is that before 2000 there was still a paranormal world. It wasn't on TV so much. It's like we had In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, and that was about it. So and you've been on several of the TV shows yourself, Haunted Collector and Paranormal Con on Camera and some others. And I find it very, very cool that you did something with Oak Island as well, because I absolutely love that. And Adam Tillery down in the chat, he'll be watching Oak Island at the same time he's watching this, which is funny. But in your research, since you've been a part of the modern field, but you've done so much research and looking back into that history of the field, what to you is the biggest difference between then and now? And can we learn something from our predecessors?
That's a good question. I feel that our strength today.
Seems like everything just froze up.
No, we're good.
I'm seeing you. You good?
Mike's present.
We good?
I can hear you.
Okay, Victoria, can you hear me? Can Mike hear me?
No. Mike is in the ether.
Mike.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
I paused.
My connection hiccuped.
Can you hear us now?
How far did my question get?
Yeah. You asked me the question. I started to answer it, and then you said, "Oh, you zoned out." So, Mike, Come back to us.
I'm here.
Knock once for yes, twice for no.
Can you hear Mike?
I can hear just fine.
Okay, so we can all hear each other. Life is good.
Okay.
I think we're good now.
Okay, but I was going to jump into the question real quick.
This right now is a perfect example of kind of what I was going to say. Early and today, the differences, our strengths are also sometimes our weaknesses. Technology, social media, there is a reliance on it for the acquisition of our information, of the things that we learn. And sometimes we become so reliant on it that we forget that our bodies, our five senses, our sixth sense, our seventh sense, which is common sense, are the most important things we can bring with us to an investigation. So I know when I first started, I thought, okay, let me get equipment, let me tech up. And you build up this arsenal of equipment. And soon, like you saw in Haunted Collector, I'm going from case to case with two huge Pelican cases in tow behind me. And it's just too much. And sometimes you spend so much time setting up the equipment and setting up the gear that you're missing what's going on right in front of you. Now, back in the day, 1850s, the spiritualist movement, it was seances. It was sitting around a table. There was dowsing rods, pendulums, scrying. It was a lot more body intensive. And those who were on the contacting side and those who were on the let's see if they're fakes or not side, they're all looking into it. And even the 1850s, the spiritualist movement wasn't the beginning. It wasn't the first instance of such an interest in the afterlife. It seems like every time there is a crisis in our history, we ask the big picture questions. We think about our mortality. We wonder, what's it all about? And after all this loss, is there some way we can somehow get it back? And I think, we can all relate, be it a video or a manuscript or something. You're working on something on the computer. There's a glitch. You lose all that information and you feel this profound loss. And you hope, I hope it's saved somewhere. I hope it's saved somewhere. And you go through those phases of loss, the bargaining, the anger, the denial, and then finally the acceptance that I've got to start all over again. And that's what happens with big tragedies. And going back to the spiritualist movement, it was the American Civil War that preceded that. And pick a war, pick a global crisis. Even now, hopefully coming out of COVID, there's a lot of people looking into this topic and wondering, well, we just lost some loved ones. Are they really gone?
They're not. I have noticed between my friends and I, my really good friends, the paranormal investigating is getting a little bit more organic, I guess you can call it. We're getting away from the tech. I went to a haunted venue and I forgot to take pictures. I even forgot to pull my equipment out. I was just there in the moment. And then everyone else was like, oh, look at this, look at this. I mean, do you find that also? And I have a Rocky thing. I don't know if I should mention it or not.
You have a Rocky theme?
Rocky thing.
There was some movie, I think it was Rocky 4. I don't know. I've heard of it. But there was this one part where Stallone was sitting on the bed with his son, and he goes, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, even if people don't understand it. Do you feel this is becoming more, what, did I do it wrong?
Victoria, you must have seen Rocky versus Drago, the director's cut, because that wasn't in the original. So you're probably more of a Rocky fan than you think you are.
Shh, it was on YouTube. Okay. Star Trek. We all know Star Trek franchise is the greatest. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. It's on so many parallels.
I love Star Trek 4.
Oh, it's the whales. Oh my God. And then Leonard Nimoy was doing albums with whales at that time too. Anyway, do you find that's, where was I going? I don't know. Is that how the paranormal field is turning? Do you think it's becoming more organic? Are we experiencing more, or do we feel like we have to prove, the paranormal's here? Like, let's go out and prove, gravity is here while we're at it. It's already done.
I love Italian. So do you. Yes. I feel like there's a bell curve. Okay. There is definitely I feel like we all get into it via our own experiences, or if it was something that we were curious about, or something that we were taught, something that was passed down. I mean, for me personally, I didn't have anything that got me into it. It was just curiosity. It was actually a film project that some friends and I started back in 2002 called Scared on Staten Island. It was a cable access show. And from that point, the bell curve I alluded to was in reference to the tech. Didn't have anything. And everyone seems to start out going, I don't know what to get. What's going on? I see what they have on TV. Let me get that. You get your first meter. You get your first audio recorder. You're like, oh, this is great. Then you get a laser pointer. You get a REM pod, and you tech. The bell curve goes up. And then you get to that point where, like, this is too much. I'm missing the experience. I'm not getting that organic. I'm missing out. And then you start going less. Now I wear a web belt that just whatever can fit on that belt, whatever is portable, whatever I can carry with me, that's what I bring. And Rosemary Ellen Guiley, in an interview that I did with her, she said something really profound, that anecdotal evidence is as important as figures and EVPs and things that one could share, because for the most part, unless I can't even think of a good example of what could convince someone who's a skeptic, but there's no audio track I could play you. There's no video I could show you. There's nothing I can tell you that would make you a believer unless you were ready, unless it was your time. And you pretty much have to have your own experience in order to be turned, or to be enriched or enlightened in some way. And this evolution, I know, took me many years. 2002 Brian was a skeptic. 2021 Brian, very much a skeptical believer. I know the phenomenon exists. It's the people who report it I'm skeptical of.
Yeah, I have pictures of full body apparitions I've taken, and I've shown them to people, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's nice. Like, my God, it's a full body apparition. Oh, look, I have an orb in this picture. Anyway.
And yet, I mean, I'm on a show that my job is to review all these videos. And let's not forget that no matter what is put in front of me, the one weakness that will come, that will put question for anything that I evaluate, I wasn't there.
Right.
I wasn't there. So then I have to take their word for it. And that comes down to, again, faith. I have to trust the person that's telling me what they got is legit. I have to say, I believe you, or I don't believe you. Neither of those two perspectives changes the fact of what may or may not have happened in said clip. but
Yeah, that's a really tough position that you're put in on that show. I mean, I got a taste of that with Fright Club on Discovery Plus, where I was asked to review a couple of clips and comment on that. And you know, since you're not in the situation, and I have people email me stuff all the time, but when you're not in the situation, especially for like reflective surfaces, like a window or a mirror or something like that, you don't
Right.
get an idea of what else is going on in the room. Of course, you have no sense of what's really there behind the person and all that. So that's really a challenge. Do you find yourself, even though you're, commenting and giving your perspective, do you find yourself kind of almost, questioning, is that, am I really being accurate in this moment, giving my perspective because of that situation where you are not actually there?
I question everything. And as a filmmaker, as a documentarian, as a researcher, I also look, okay, well, how could this have been faked?
Mhm.
How could this have been falsified? And sometimes you look for strings. Sometimes you feel like, oh, there's somebody hiding behind the door, or this could have been the pressure change, and that's why the window flew open. There's lots of different reasons. However, it comes back down to, all right, just because you can explain it one way, it honestly really doesn't eliminate the paranormal explanation, which makes our job even harder. And I have so many people that come up to me at conventions and they're like, oh, Brian, here, I got a video. Hold on. Oh, here, let me show you. Oh, and they show me a video and I'm like, this was not worth the wait. And yet some of those videos will make it A, to the producers, and then B, to our show. And I'll beg them, please don't show this. Please don't show this. And they'll show it. But what I love about Paranormal Caught on Camera is that it's not a show about presenting evidence that you say, you must believe this. And if you don't, you're ridiculous. All our peers on the other shows, the investigative shows, when they show a piece of evidence, allegedly they caught it. So they have to stand behind it. These we get to comment on. And honestly, I don't believe half of them. And you could tell by my candor in my answers. But that being said, whether they're real or not is not the issue. It's still getting the conversation started. And topics like cryptids and ufology are discussed much more now. I know I've learned a lot because of just having to watch those videos and having to research, well, what am I going to say about this? What can I learn about this before I go and try to speak intelligently on the topic? And I think that's great.
Well, how
Do you find
start-
yourself?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do you find yourself starting to branch out more into some areas, like you said, ufology and cryptids and some of these other esoteric areas?
A little bit. I mean, you and I were just at Michigan Paracon together earlier this year, and I found myself on a UFO panel with the likes of Nick Redfern and somebody from their local MUFON chapter, a place that I never imagined I would be on a couple of years ago. And I think that just speaks to, I guess, my narrow-minded thinking at the time of the paranormal that, hey, I'm a ghosts and spirits guy. But to be in the paranormal, that umbrella encompasses so much more that, of course, there'll be some cryptids thrown in, there'll be some UFOs thrown in, there'll be some mysteries that we don't have a label for that we're going to have to address.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all connected. Go ahead, Victoria. You had a question.
Well, let's say you're presenting a speech or something, and after it's all done, it's take two. After it's all over and you're completed, someone walks up to you and just says, I don't believe any of this. How do you start a conversation with them? Is it just like, okay, thank you for coming? Or do you go a little bit deeper? Or how does the conversation go with someone who just says you're, full of it?
I don't get too much of that in person. I find most people don't have the gumption to challenge you in that way. I get that on Twitter after an episode airs, where you have armchair critics spewing their opinions, and I used to let it get to me. They would bait me, and I would take the bait every time. Now I kind of don't care. If they're that riled up about it, I feel, hey, that's great. You're passionate about something, but we can be wrong. And sometimes the ones who at least approach it with some respect, like, oh, I saw the episode last night, and oh, those lights, oh, you were completely wrong. That was a SpaceX launch. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's information I didn't have. Now I have it. So again, I've learned something, and even though we're the commentators, we're not above question.
Okay. Excellent.
So let me ask this to Brian. You mentioned that you've kind of pared down your equipment that you bring since you got to, you were talking about the bell curve earlier, and I've been really the same way, where I used to bring a ton of equipment and still all back there in a closet, but now I only bring a couple of items. So what are those couple of go-tos? You said anything that you could bring in your belt, but you got to have a couple that are like, I'm definitely going to bring this.
It's great because all the things that I don't carry with me anymore end up in the history exhibits.
That's great.
So the things that are kind of musts for me, my millimeter, because it is a Swiss Army knife of a gadget. So I've got a REM pod in it, automatic temperature differential. Like Gary outfitted pretty much everything he makes into that one device. Digital audio recorder, my pendulum, old school, so that I don't need batteries.
Nice.
And lately, I'll just have some new device just to test out. Like Gary Galka came out with a DOS Ankh, which is his response to all the Phasma boxes and the Phantom boxes, all the Spirit boxes plugged into preamps to try to reduce that noise. So I've been field testing that. And I know he's got something new that I just ordered and am awaiting eagerly.
Great. So, okay. So pendulum, old school method. Do you find yourself starting to go back to some of those old school methods? Cause like I have a set of dowsing rods. I do have a pendulum as well. And, for forever, I would stay away from some of that stuff because, we're doing a lot of camera work, video, and people immediately discredit, well, you could manipulate and all that. You're just trying to, show off for the camera, that sort of thing. But they really work. It's like, okay, I'm being honest with myself. I'm not going to try to trick myself. And, those methods are working. Do you find yourself starting to go back to some of those older methods that are tried and true?
I've become a fan of the pendulum. I can't say I'm skilled. I feel that'd be too much hubris, but I feel like I've been using it for years now. And the gentleman who taught me how to was a cowboy. It wasn't a Stevie Nicks clone, Love and Light. It's just like, no, cowboy. And when I say cowboy, if you're thinking, yes, that person you're thinking of, leathery face, denim shirt, cowboy hat, he was researching something for a book he was writing, and it led him into the subject of dowsing and pendulums, and he taught me how to do it. Since then, I've been giving it a try, and because at the time I was Brian, my tech guy, it fascinated me that rock and a string could give you answers. And again, I can't tell you exactly how it works. I can tell you the theories behind it so that people think what it might be, but still, I can't pinpoint exactly what's making it work. And like you said, I'm not in it to fool myself. I almost don't want it to work because I can't explain to you the mechanics. And yet I get it to work. And I never get, well, I don't want to say never. Rarely do I get things about the location or the case I'm on. I end up delivering messages for people. I've become a paranormal postal worker of sorts. And just this past 2 weekends ago at my history exhibit in Rhode Island, I delivered a message for a woman that had a physical effect on me. I literally felt the end of the session hit me physically. I felt like I imagined an elevator dropping suddenly and then catching itself. I felt as if I fell down and something hit me in the head. Not like a strike, but like a, you're done. As if it closed off the session. And that never happened to me before. And I feel like the more I do it, I'm getting more physically involved in it. And I could do this with a pendulum. I'm not a fan of dowsing rods. I see someone ask about, have I ever used dowsing rods? I can't get those to work. And I feel like so many people that I say, oh, show me dowsing rods. They're like, okay. Oh, is there anyone here with us? Like, you see their hands moving, and I'm looking. I'm like, I see your hand moving. I'm not moving. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't personally get behind it, but I know there's something to it. I haven't discovered it yet.
Yeah, and I will say there is, because like I said, I've used them, and again, I'm not going to trick myself, but when I was on Alaska Triangle, and I had the dowsing rods, and that was by their request. I don't usually use those on an investigation, but it was at their request. Okay, fine. And my dad, who does not believe in the paranormal, was watching that, and he's like, I have actually used those before to find pipes behind my grandparents' house. He's like, there's something to it. I don't know what it is, but we were looking for, some pipes in a drain, and I was able to find it with that. So it had absolutely nothing to do with the paranormal. But
remember, it used to be a forked stick to find where to dig a well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You try to search the well, the divining rods. Right.
Mm-hmm.
See, now you're talking my language. You're talking my people now.
I don't bring it, Victoria.
What? Who?
Victoria of the stick people.
Yes, No, my mom's family is from deep in East Texas, and that's just the way we do things, So, I mean, this is just the way we've always learned. There is, well, I don't want to say power. There is energy in dowsing rods and pendulums and doing things at certain times with certain herbs to change your vibrational frequency and all that kind of stuff. It really is true. So, I mean, you don't really need your Duracells to do all this, but there are ways to do things. Just, I'm going to keep saying organic. That's my word of the day. Organically.
So let me ask you this, since we are talking about some old school methods. You mentioned the spiritualism movement earlier. Your take on psychic mediums and having a medium's take or psychic's take during an investigation. Do you incorporate those perspectives as well?
Absolutely. I feel any baseball team needs all the players playing all the positions. You can't have 9 pitchers, 9 catchers. You need your first baseman, your outfielders. You need all those parts to make it work. And for my paranormal teams, I prefer to have what I call the 3 pillars with me: psychic, scientist, skeptic. 3 different viewpoints to make a more well-rounded investigation. And for me, I'm the scientist, whereas the psychic believes, the skeptic needs a mountain of proof. I'm not looking to prove nor disprove. I'm looking to measure. I'm looking to quantify. I'm looking to get the raw data to maybe help us get this in the books. And my meters can only tell me so much. Beep, 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 boop, boop, boop. Okay, I'm getting a reading. What does that mean? Turn to the psychic. Okay, what are you feeling? Well, I feel it's a man and he's angry. His name is Bob. My meter couldn't have told me that, yet the psychic, I feel, is just another tool to gather information in their own way.
Now, you mentioned the 3 pillars, and which I think is great. And you have a card game based on this, which I've played, and it's actually a really good card game. Do you have any of that with you there that you can kind of show off a little bit?
Yes, I do. You can see the clutter behind me.
Yeah, maybe I should have asked that.
I have everything with me, which 3 pillars. Never before has Paranormal Division been so much fun. It's it's kind of sin, and we've had fun with this. We've made expansions for it over the years. This one, batteries not included, is our psychic set that has a lot of things. Victoria, you would dig this one.
I want to play. So this is like Cards Against Humanity, but for the paranormal?
Not even close. Bite your tongue, sign off, and log off, because that was just wrong.
Okay.
No, it's like a strategy game, really, is what it is.
Stratego. Do you remember that?
It kind of simulates an investigation. Object of the game is to be the player that has the most points in evidence after exploring 3 haunted locations. Ooh. Now, if it was just as simple as getting number cards, it would be too easy. You're playing against your opponent, so you're trying to stop them as you're trying to concurrently get your own investigation. So things can waylay you, like battery drain or broken equipment or possession, and you have to fix those things before you can continue. Events happen that take the paranormal community into effect, and because it's my game, I get to put my friends in it. So there's a John Zaffis card, there's a Chip Coffee card, there's a Rosemary card, and it's just it's a lot of fun. And because I can't do anything without sneaking education into it, the game has a lot of meta elements that all the cards and all the way the game interacts are based off of real events. So if it didn't happen to me in real life and it couldn't happen, you can't do it in the game.
Okay.
You'll have to play it, Victoria. It's pretty
fun.
I know.
Yeah, the cats and I will play it.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like everybody down in the chat is really, really interested. So how can somebody get a hold of the game, Brian?
Yes.
It's a good question. You could go to my website, neverstopsearching.com. I think it's in the store. I'm horrible at selling my own stuff. Even at events, I'm like, yeah, I got some stuff over there if you like. If not, if you don't, it's not too much trouble. Yes, neverstopsearching.com.
Yep. And there's we got the banner going there. Those that are listening to the podcast later, neverstopsearching.com.
I think we need a game night. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the good thing about it, it's good for 2 players or 4 players, and 4 players is fun. Now, Mike, you played the 2-player version. With 4
played
players,
the 2-player version.
you play teams. So you would have a teammate, your opponent would have a teammate, and that's when the trash talking starts. So what's more paranormal than trash talk?
We don't do that. I don't know. Para-unity. Okay. Maybe not.
It's a game. You are competing, so
Yeah.
a little hard to have some para-unity there when you're competing. But
somebody asked, I see in the chat, is it on Amazon? It used to be until their standards and practices blocked it for some reason, silliness. But yeah, you could go to my website and you'll know that when it arrives to you, with my own hands, not only did I create the game, but I packed it. I brought it to the post office and sent it to you.
And for those watching on YouTube, there is a link down in the description that you can just click on. That'll take you to Brian's site. So you have that option as well. Lots of options to get to your site, Brian. So, all right. So we're talking about the haunted exhibit, or the history of the paranormal exhibit that's traveling around the country. You just did a show in Rhode Island. What do you have on tap? What can we expect going forward?
For 2020, well, right now for the winter, it's standing down. For 2022, I am still looking into places to host it. My goal is to get this to all 50 states. 7 down, 43 more to go. And yet the 8th one is in the books. And you know something about that, Mike, because you're going to be joining me at that one in Grafton, Ohio next summer.
This is true.
There we go.
There it is.
Me and Mike, we are going to be there for 2-3 days. The exhibit's going to be there for an extended time, so you'll be able to view the exhibit during the week. Friday, we're going to forego the hunts in favor of workshops. It's an old school, so what better than a little bit of education, a little bit of training before we hit the hunt on Saturday night.
All right, so you have the exhibit, you have some educational workshops, and you have a ghost hunt.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a great weekend.
It's going to be amazing. And, this is going to be the first time that the exhibit's going to get to breathe during the week beforehand, because a lot of times I'll show up, we set up, and this is not an exhibit. And here's the misconception. There are other traveling exhibits out there in museums that tent pop up, there's the stuff, and this is not to diminish the amount of work that goes into it, but it seems like it's a lot easier. This is not. This is a full exhibit. This is a full traveling, like there's rooms worth, it's a good 3,000 square feet worth of materials. And I just keep expanding it every time. So when people say, oh, can you bring it to my convention? The answer is no, I cannot bring it to your convention. It's very expensive.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, but it's going to get to breathe. So people will get to see it during the week. It's going to be shown on Wednesday and Thursday just alone. So by the time Friday rolls around, it's not like people are rushing. Oh, I haven't seen it. I want people to be able to really immerse themselves in it. And there are interactive elements, EVP listening station. There's what I call the game show at the end. Can you name the modern pioneers? We always have our tarot card reader, and there's different stations that pretty much, if you're just kind of wandering through, sometimes the exhibit reaches out to you, and not in a haunted way, but in an informational way. There's a lot to see and experience. So I recommend people go through it more than once.
You know what this sounds like is a modern day Lilydale. Well, I guess Lilydale's still going on, but because I've been wanting to start one with some friends down here, Lilydale of the South. Why not? We'd be sitting on the veranda having a mint julep and talking about our grandpa's ghost or something, and it would just be fun.
I mean, I would love to have it in a brick and mortar location one day. I didn't think this was possible a couple of years ago, but now I'm doing it. So I don't think a brick and mortar is possible, but who knows down the line, that too may be possible. But I still want to get it to every state.
So if it's a big state, will you come to a couple cities?
I feel like I will eventually repeat, but my focus is to get it where it hasn't been seen yet.
Okay, cool.
The shipping is probably gonna be a little pricey for Alaska and Hawaii, but I'm sure they would absolutely appreciate it.
It would almost be more cost effective, like for Hawaii, just to have everything reprinted from scratch there, all this stuff. Well, let me just buy all this stuff and then reassemble it.
So you just don't put it in a U-Haul and go? I mean, you have to ship it?
Well, you can't exactly drive to Hawaii, but thus far, I have challenged and driving it, yes.
Well, wasn't there a land bridge at one time somewhere?
Back in the Paleolithic, sure. When everything was connected, yes.
Pangea.
My exhibit was not ready to go then. It was very small. Not worth seeing.
No, it would be wonderful to see.
All right, we do have some questions coming in from the chat. I do want to get to some of these, and so our listeners and viewers can go ahead and submit questions, of course. From Robert Hanna, since you were talking about UFOs earlier, what does Brian think about the government admitting UFOs, UAPs are real, or did they really admit that they were real? So that's
I think that they didn't. I feel like they danced around it as governments do. They pretty much acknowledged that things are happening. They didn't ascribe it to extraterrestrial life. They just said, hey, we're recording some weird things. That's it.
And that was it.
All they really did.
Yeah, 9 pages of and not acknowledging things that happened all the decades before, the 2000s. So it was.
I feel like it was
some choice words about that.
I feel like it was an acknowledgement just to be like, fine, we have to say something. Say as little as possible.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. From our chat moderator, Alina, she asks, how does it personally feel turning non-believers of the paranormal into believers and opening people's eyes to seeing there's a lot more to our world?
It almost sounds like I'm a zombie and I bite people. It's like, how does it feel to turn the non-believers? I'm not necessarily in the business of turning people per se, because I know for myself, it took me a while. It really took me a while to go from being a skeptic to where I am today. And having been a skeptic for so long, I know how it is when people are like, you got to do this. You got to believe this. Here's all this stuff. And it's like, look, you'll come to it in your own time. So it's my job to try to facilitate that, to make it easy, not to force it or push it, to say, all right, well, when you're ready, here's a bunch of stuff you can look at. Here are some names. Here's some concepts. And again, as a former skeptic, I could tell you, I used to think like you. Let me try to assuage some of your doubts about this, and here's why. So especially with this exhibit, there's an entire room dedicated to skeptics and societies. And you have people like Harry Houdini, who was very famous at exposing fraudulent psychic mediums. And not because he didn't believe, but because he did. And those who he trusted to make contact with his mother, whom he lost, disappointed him so. And we see that today with so many people just sloppily or lazily coming out and doing things and kind of making a bad name for the field in general, because they are the bad examples, but they are also the most public examples. And with social media being what it is, information gets out very quickly. And we all know we all know how things have been in the media the past few years.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to know what to believe.
Yeah, how much of a challenge is that for you, kind of dealing with some of these different perceptions that are out there these days, and seeing with the way a lot of television has gone, or like a lot of social media or YouTube and what have you, of like almost everything's demonic these days, or some things like that, where all these really far-flung ideas are out there. I'm sure you get all kinds of people that are coming to you with some some opinion or something they've seen. How do you deal with all of that?
I used to be a lot more impatient with that, but I feel like in my impatience, I don't want to turn anyone off to the topic, and I certainly don't want to turn away someone who might need help for it. So anytime I get somebody saying, "Oh, I think I have a demon in my house," my response is, "Well, exactly how did you diagnose this?" And this is the thing. This is just like going on WebMD. Oh, my elbow itches. Let me go on WebMD. Oh, I've got cancer and AIDS and Ebola. There's nothing
Right.
good. You never get anything good from researching it yourself online. That's why you've got to go to the doctor. And it's the same with the paranormal. People will say, "Oh, the light in my hall turned on. There's demons infesting my house," because they watched some of the TV shows. And when they come to me with that presupposition, you have to unlearn them everything. You've got to go Yoda and go unlearn everything you've learned. Start back at zero. Now let's look into what you've got. And
It's hard.
it's taxing, but again, at least they're talking about the subject. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if this was happening to you, you didn't talk about it. You kept it to yourself. You suppressed it, and then things might have gotten worse.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day, you might be thrown in a straitjacket
Yes,
and tossed away somewhere
yeah.
for talking about it. So another question here. This is from Android Purity. Hey, Brian, with the tech revolution, with cameras on cell phones more high quality than ever these few years, do you think paranormal videos will continue to increase?
I am on episode 20 of season 5 of Paranormal Caught on Camera. Season 4 just ended. So yes, it will continue because it's easy. Before, you had to have a camera. You had to have it going. You couldn't just pick it up and go. Now you're like, "Oh, I see something." And there it is. That being said, there's still advanced skepticism in that. So let's take Bigfoot, for example. Back in the day, you have some of your famous clips. They're blurry, they're far away, they're hard to see, they don't seem to prove much. And yet we use those as anchors of, okay, well, this is what's going to spur our beliefs forward. I wish we had a clearer video. All right, I've seen some clearer videos. My mind doesn't want to accept it. We have 4K now. We could shoot in 8K. And the clearer it gets, the more skeptical you get. You're like, "Oh, that looks too good." If it doesn't look at all, "Oh, that's too blurry." You can't win. So that being said, you have to be ready to accept it. You have to be open enough to go, "I'm going to look at this objectively." And for me, it always comes down to my favorite fictional consulting detective's motto that once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Yep.
So a little Sherlock Holmes in there, huh?
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess Android had reworded that question, and I didn't catch the second version of it until now. Do you think the prevalence of high quality paranormal videos will drive real research? I guess is where he was actually trying to go.
Okay. It's all about the data. The more data we have, the more observations can be made off of it. Again, we can't just go on guesses. We can't go on assumptions. Yeah, let's look at the video. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the numbers. Is there a correlation between EMF spikes, cold spots? And again, I feel like we're looking in the wrong place. I feel like we're using the wrong scales, because all of this time, I mean, we are in an age now that 52 weekends out of the year, you have everybody wearing a black t-shirt running around on Saturday night looking for ghosts, recording and shooting and being and doing. Where are the numbers? Where's the data? Where is the quotient that says at X amount of milligauss per square foot equals a haunting at the location? We don't have it. And why don't we have it? Maybe it's not milligauss. Maybe we're on the wrong scale. Maybe we're close, but we're going down the wrong avenue. And to answer your question, I think the more data we have, or data, I've pronounced it two different ways, we're able to at least look over our work and say, we've been going down the wrong way. Just in the 20 years I've been doing it, very little has changed. The only thing that's changed in my observation is me.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And Android did throw down a $2 super chat. Always great guest. Thank you. And thank you very much, Android Purity. So we have about 15 minutes left in the show. If you guys have some more questions, feel free to throw those down in the chat. Victoria, I'm going to toss it to you real quick, see if you have any additional questions.
I've been trying to keep my comments to myself tonight.
Go ahead.
No, I'm trying not to get in trouble.
That just raises further questions.
How would you get in trouble?
Oh dear. No. You were talking about, I think a show you should do, and I was talking to Mike about it before. I had a couple of shows mixed up, like a haunted antique roadshow. I think that would be amazing.
I would leave that to the old man. Ziggity would be better at doing that than me. I'd be like,
who knows? Anyway, do you think the paranormal field is still going to be driven, like, as you said, the people in the black t-shirts, like, hey, I got a YouTube channel, look at me, I've got 10 subscribers, woohoo? Or is it going to be more of the people like the everyday soccer mom, Karen, who's actually having experience? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in my kitchen and I've seen things go by, and my daughter's walked by and it's walked by, and this week has been crazy. Little black shadow figures running around everywhere. They're on the ceiling, and it's just been crazy. Is it still going to be hardcore evidence, or is it going to be more people accepting and having these experiences?
people are people, so we're going to always have a mix. New shows will come out which will excite people, who will then mimic them and run out and monkey see, monkey do. They'll do the typical, oh, I've been in the paranormal a week, I want a show, where's my this, where do the entitlements.
Right.
Then when they find out it's work and the sheen wears off, they get tired. The groups that they formed with the acronym, that's some kind of paranormal name forced into some clever word. The person that they form the group with, they get into an argument, they split up, they form two groups, they go out and do their own thing. One stops doing it, one moves away. If it's anything that I've noticed in my time doing this, the serious people will weather those storms. The people who really want to do it and do it for the right reasons, and who understand it's hard work. It's more often than not thankless work, as far as the public goes. If you do it for individual enlightenment, that's great. If you do it for knowledge and education, that's always good. If you're in it for TV fame or money, I got to tell you, you will be disappointed. Do it for the love of community. I mean, I've met some great people. I'm friends with some, I've made lifelong friends in this. So in that respect, yeah, I'm rich in certain ways, but people see me and they assume, oh, Brian's on TV, he's got millions of dollars. Wrong. But that's also not why I'm in it.
Right. It has to be like a personal validation that you're trying to achieve, I think, not like the big bucks.
It's like Henry Jones, who said, what do you find? Illumination.
Yes. Leoness. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. See, we've had Rocky references, we've had Sherlock Holmes references, now we got Indiana Jones references.
My blood is mostly pop culture, so
yeah.
I
totally get it, because I'm right there with you. Yeah. So let me ask you something, because you and I have had some interesting conversations here, especially over the past several months as we've done some of these events together. And so in one of those conversations, we were talking a little bit about like interdimensional beings, and it seems like this has become a little bit more of a popular concept these days. So it seems like just a regular ghost and haunting was popular for a while, and then everything had to go demon, demonic, that sort of thing, and then like shadow entities for a hot minute. Now it seems to be like everything's interdimensional beings. Are we going through phases here, just little fads for a moment, we'll move on to another topic, or are we really just all talking about the same thing, just using a different term for it?
If it's a phase, I think I'm caught up in that phase, because I feel like we've stumbled upon it, and it's in that category that I don't have any facts, but I know it's true. I feel like, yeah, people are finally ready to accept certain things. Like, all right, again, we'll take it back to Bigfoot. Why has there never been any proof of life? And again, there's going to be a lot of cryptozoologists out there like, oh, no, we disagree with this. For my limited experience, I feel like there's not a lot of things that show um, offspring, that show elimination, that show diet, that show anything. You know, you hear knocks. Well, do you see it knocking? And then how can you ascribe it to this creature? Like, where is it? But maybe it is interdimensional. Maybe, as you say, we're using different words to describe the same thing. So the demons of the West are the jinn of the East, are the grays of the extraterrestrials. Like, we might be talking about the same things. And I really do believe that there is a unifying theory for this all. It's not just cryptids or just ufologists or just ghosts and spirits. Just everything is connected. Everything in this universe is energy and vibration. And as we're getting more into quantum physics, and the more the average person is understanding certain things, even if it's through films like Ant-Man, we're getting introduced to concepts that, 10, 15, 20 years ago, people would have said, oh, that's impossible. And yet now, you talk about entanglement, you talk about Heisenberg theory, you talk about strange attractors, the average person, even if they don't know what it is, will say, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. And that's very much.
I saw it in some movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I forget what I was watching, but there was a period of time during the pandemic where, as we were all binging movies and TV shows left and right, there was a string of them that were dealing with multiple realities. I was watching Man in the High Castle, which is an alternate. What if the Allies had lost World War II?
Right.
And spoiler, I mean, the show's been out a while, but it turned out that there were multiple realities, and they were able to traverse them. So artifacts were moving between universes. So with us, could there be multiple dimensions? Could there be multiple realities? Could we be seeing some of those things and mistaking it for spirits? Or maybe we're just getting a window into a parallel dimension just for that temporary amount of time, and we're not able to quantify it or measure it because it doesn't stay around long enough for it to do it, or we don't even have the scale developed yet to figure out those numbers.
So what's your theory on the hollow earth, can I ask?
I don't believe in a hollow earth, but then again, I was always raised on crust, mantle, magma at the center. But being the scientist, and unless you give me some data to contradict that, then I will have to go, oh, all right, well, let's look into it. However, more and more as I look into ufology, you hear tales about reptilians and its entire civilizations living beneath the surface of the earth, and that they're able to traverse between their few cities through these high-speed tunnels. And it's like, oh, didn't Musk just say, hey, I'm going to build a tunnel with a maglev train going from New York to, well, is he inventing it or is he finding it? Did he find it? And things like that. So again, the more information we have, the world we thought we knew might be completely different. And I've had moments where my brain has just been like, when I first found out what EVP was. Yeah, it's average to us now. Oh, yeah, EVPs, of course. But when you first find out that you can record possible voices from the dead, that's mind-blowing. When I first found out about real-time ITC recordings, time stream group, things of that sort, Spiritcom, I needed some rest. My mind needed to, again, phases of loss, denial, bargaining, all of it, and then finally acceptance. Until the next mind blow.
So are they the voices of the past or voices of the dead or a voice from another dimension? Like what if
voices of the future?
Okay.
Yes.
Get out of my head, Mike. Like what if you're not really a hollow earth like Raquel Welch? Was it Raquel Welch that did the Journey to the Center of the Earth or whatever? Anyway, what if it's like hollow pockets? The ant people, my favorites. What if they actually, you know how an ant farm goes. What if that's what the crust of the mantle is really like, and it's not really a physical thing, it's a multi-dimensional, transporter. Let's bring Star Trek into this now. You're transporting over there. You're doing that bit.
I've read books and reports that claim that there are reptilian cities underneath the surface of the earth, and that the abductions are not happening up there; they're happening down there, and they have the ability not to camouflage themselves, but because they were allegedly integral in our developments in years, millennia past, that there's something like a little lever that they could psychically switch off in our brain that allows them to appear as other humans. Like, we can't perceive them, we can't see them. We'll probably just see them as normal people or not at all. And I find that very interesting because, again, I ingest a lot of sci-fi and just a lot of fantasy, and these things are common themes. I mean, yeah, I grew up on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I watched all the movies, and it's just like, yeah, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Oh, sure. Cloaking device, got it. Sounds feasible.
What if these aren't themes that are in science fiction or science fantasy? What if these are just like little snippets, and whomever powers that be are saying, okay, release this little bit. Let's make a, I don't know, Indiana Jones movie where he goes into the Hollow Earth or something.
I mean, that's been a theory for many years, that it's being spoon-fed to us via pop culture. And again, when you look at pop culture and how many themes seem to repeat over and over and over again within a certain period of time, like Mike said, yeah, now everything's about multiple dimensions. Maybe this is just the chapter we're at in that disclosure of this information. And again, I'm a prime example of it. When I first started getting into the paranormal way back when, I wouldn't have been ready to accept the concepts that I can accept today, because it just, you can't give it to everyone all at once. The universe is too big. It's too, the order of magnitude that our tiny little, monkey brains or reptilian brains can process. It's not enough terabytes in here. We need more. And I feel like the body is limiting. That's our weakness, the body, if we are spirits in a material world.
True. But if we're, energy having a human experience right now? Is that what the little pop phrase is now?
Oh, that's a pop phrase?
Yeah. Your energy having... Come on down to Texas now. This is, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Or it's the Matrix.
You got it.
Or it's the
Matrix
Hollow Earth.
4.
Simulated universe. Oh yeah, Matrix 4 coming out here in next few weeks.
Did you hear in the news today? Yep. Woolly mammoths will be back this year. It was in BBC today.
Global warming is not the time to bring back a hairy elephant.
Okay, my daughter said the same thing. I'm like, maybe it's just the last one. And
that's
found.
The detractors of that are saying that's all it's going to be, because it can't completely clone and replicate the woolly mammoth DNA. So basically, they're manipulating elephant DNA with some remnants of the woolly mammoth. So basically, they'll have, like Brian said, a hairy elephant.
Didn't they see Jurassic Park? Didn't they see Jurassic Park? This will not end
no. Once Jeff Goldblum was doing this, we didn't see anything after that.
Life will find a way.
No. Well, I mean, okay, what if the woolly mammoth was in Alaska, because it's big, it's kind of bigger than Texas, I've heard. And there was they died out a few hundred years ago, not thousands and millions of years ago. And that's the most recent DNA they could get. I mean, wouldn't you want to start cloning something with the most recent DNA, the freshest, I guess you could call it?
I'll quote you Star Trek 6.
Oh, okay.
Because you can do a thing does not necessarily mean that we must do that thing. Yeah, sure, we can clone a woolly mammoth. Why would we want to? Where are we going to put it? Well, what's the point? Like, just to say, all right, we did it. We have the technology. All right, that might have implications in the medical field where, maybe we can clone bodies to have healthy parts for people. But then that will bring the moral question of, but that's a life and that's a spirit. And how could you do this? But it's a clone. It doesn't have a spirit. The debate will go on. I see this as being a headache, and I'm going to steer clear.
Ant people.
Ant people.
That's it. Well, then that's got to take it right back to Rocky. What was it, Rocky 4? You got to do what you got to do, even if people say it's wrong, right? or something like that.
See, that's the one piece of Rocky advice that I didn't agree with. Like, I was down with everything in Rocky 2. I was down with Rocky Balboa, that nothing hits as hard as life. It will knock you down and keep you down. You gotta, you keep pushing, and that's
how you get back up.
Not how hard you get hit. It's not how hard you hit. It's how hard you get hit and keep moving forward.
Yep.
That's how winning's done. Good. Thank you. I did brain fart on that because of all the tech talk.
Right.
So,
real quick, we got a $5 super chat from Papa Bear's Kitchen. Says, for a treat. Thank you very much, Papa Bear. Absolutely appreciate it. Yeah. So, well, we are at our hour mark, Brian. Absolutely appreciate you coming on. One more time, let's go ahead and get the banner running with neverstopsearching.com is your website.
You forgot to mention something. Sorry.
Next June is the History of the Paranormal exhibit here in Ohio, Grafton, Ohio, 15 minutes down the road from my house, which is great. And of course, we got Brian as Rocky here.
Yeah, is Brian doing
come on, it looks a lot like that, right?
I thought it was a double. Is Brian doing anything next summer? I don't know, like across the pond?
Yes, we do need to talk about the whales trip. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
like in Star Trek 4?
Back to Star Trek 4. We're talking about the whales. You're going to go to Ireland. I'm going to Wales. We're going to be we're going to be both in the United Kingdom.
We will be, yes.
We need people to come and join us on these mysterious adventures because I know I've wanted to get back to Ireland. I've never been to Wales. And
I've never been to Wales either. So
that week in between, I'm totally renting a car and driving up to Loch Ness.
Oh,
can we just stay longer?
Yeah, we really should just spend the whole month there. So we'll do our Ireland trip at the beginning of July. Hang out, we'll go to Loch Ness, and then do the Wales trip with Brian.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm down
Sounds
for that.
Fun.
Yeah, for those of you guys who want more information on that too is on my website under my events tab. And Mike, his Ireland trip, both of us, it's the same tour company. So you go to one, go to both. You cannot go wrong.
Yeah, Mysterious Adventures Tours. Jump on Brian's. I'm not going to plug myself this show. This is Brian's show. So go to Wales with Brian. But if you want to go to Ireland, we'd love to have you along too. But go to Brian's first.
We're going to karaoke, Brian. That's all I'm saying.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Mike will, not me.
He won't let you.
Well, yeah, no. Brian and I, we've been talking about it for a while. They didn't have karaoke in Michigan this year. No, because we were going to do Under Pressure or Bohemian Rhapsody or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to the Jameson's factory one night, so Mike's going to be out there karaoke. Yeah. I'm a behind the scenes person, so I don't.
With the spirits in the UK, I think I would have the liquid courage to do both.
Absolutely. All right, Brian. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We'll definitely have to have you back soon. Maybe we'll have you back on just before the exhibit.
Yeah.
In June. That would make a lot of sense. So
we'll have to tease them of the upgrades, of which I don't know what they are yet because I haven't made them. But let's do it.
All right, sounds good. So you have a great night, my friend. Take care.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Brian Cano. Great guy. Yeah, he and I, when we get together, we just it's like pop culture references. I think when we were in Massachusetts at Mass Paracon, it was just we were having a Rocky-thon, really. Just go. It was pretty crazy. So, all right. So, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Of course, we'll get up to the shout outs in just a moment, but I have to show these off for Nicole. She's been posting some of her crafty stuff on her page lately, and she was making these little gnomes, and she made a shadow person gnome. So you got the bushy beard, got a black nose, got the black hat. So she's been making all kinds of different ones. And then she just before the show also made a ghosty one. So it's like all white. They're really
could be
cute.
a snowman ghost.
Yeah, kind of. Well, she has one
Yeah.
that's Santa Claus, so it's the red hat and the white beard, and she's been doing like the different football colors. And for Thanksgiving, she's got like all the women in the family getting together for like a little crafting thing, and they're going to be making a bunch of these. So
Cute.
yeah. So I do want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving this year. I know that it gets to be a bit of a crazy time of year. Tomorrow's always the biggest travel day of the year. Then you have Black Friday, which everybody kind of goes nuts on. I don't go out of the house either one of those days because it's just insane out there. So, but you guys can have fun. Go for it. I know some people live for it.
No, I'll be back in the 1500s this weekend, so you'll have fun.
Ah, there you go.
Last weekend, yeah. Renaissance Festival, last weekend.
The Renaissance Festival.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Staying away from that.
Do the Ren Fair. That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah. If I travel for Thanksgiving, I do it before Wednesday. I'll do it like Monday or Tuesday or whatever. I will not do it on Wednesday.
My mother-in-law used to travel on the holiday because nobody was ever traveling. So I thought that was brilliant. You know, you miss it. Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, you miss the beginning chunk of the day. So I'd rather start my day there with family, just go through the whole thing. And usually you're like helping people with food and all that stuff. So
sounds fun.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the shout outs. And what is this Adam Tillery with the elbow cough? What's up, Adam?
Is he not helping? He's not having dinner?
I don't know. Maybe he's traveling tomorrow. I don't know. He'll have to tell me.
He travels on Thanksgiving.
There's his there's Adam's eyes. Okay. Maybe he meant to do the eyes and did elbow coughing. I don't know. I guess let's get to the shout outs here.
Artsy people, you know how they are.
Yeah, those artsy people. Let's see. So we had the super chats this evening. I want to thank Android Purity and Papa Bear's Kitchen for being super chat superstars this evening. Thank you both very, very much for that. Absolutely appreciate it. Always great to get those. For the participants tab, we'll get in here. Adam Tillery, of course. Brenda Bound, thanks for joining us once again this evening. Aaron Bush, thank you as well. There's Jennifer Bloomer and Linda Marie. Thank you for joining us tonight. Mary Haygood, thank you once again. Papa Bear's Kitchen, again, thank you very much. Robert Hanna, as always. TFT Tarot for today, thank you for joining us once again. And Steve Humphrey. Now I get to scroll through the whole thing because the participants tab is never all inclusive. Of course, we want to thank Alina for moderating the chat. Nicole was in earlier. I think she may have bowed out because I know she's been really busy as of late. Let's see who else is in here. I know Hunter Media's Fairy Queen Diane Hilbert was also in earlier. There's Helen Espinoza. Great to see you once again. Dover Paratech, thanks for joining us tonight. Laura Ward, thank you for joining us as well. And there's Tammy Heitzman. Always great to see you, Tammy. Jennifer Tennyson, thanks for joining us tonight. Excuse me. And let's see. All right. I guess that is going to be it as I scroll through. Next week, let's see.
I know who it is.
Brian, I know who it is. Yeah. Brian, I'm trying to figure out like a slick.
Oh, a segue.
Yeah. Well, we had Brian on. He was on Haunted Collector. He dropped the name John Zaffis in there at one point, and that is who we have on next Tuesday night. Is John Zaffis, 9:30 Eastern here. Don't miss it. It'll be the first time we've ever had Johnny on the show, so that'll be a real treat.
Yeah, I'm not starstruck. No.
He's a great guy. He's really totally cool, totally down to earth. I love Johnny. So
I have friends that know him, but still.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun having him on the show next week, and we'll just chat.
Okay.
Just pick his brain about. We're talking like decades and decades of experience. So let's see. Oh, we had Mary Mitchell is also saying she's here. So yeah, if you guys have any last minute shout outs, let us know and we'll give you the shout out. So thank you, Mary, for joining us. So yes, the bearded one himself from Hunt Collector, John Zaffis, next week.
I thought he was the paranormal godfather. Wait, which is
Yes, he's the godfather of the paranormal is one of his nicknames.
Okay.
So
did he know Jimmy Hoffa? Oh, okay.
But everybody knew Jimmy.
I didn't. It's a northern thing.
Not that kind of godfather, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody.
Make us an offer. No.
Yeah.
I still think
you refuse.
You need to talk him into doing the Haunted Antiques Roadshow. I think. Yes.
Right. Okay. We'll work on that.
You can take your sword.
All right, everybody. We will see you all next week again. Have a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. No Connecting the Universe tomorrow. We had a makeup date yesterday for last week because of my HVAC issues here. So last week's Connecting the Universe got pushed to this Monday. And well, everybody's traveling tomorrow anyway, at least a lot of people. So no Connecting the Universe tomorrow. We will reconvene that next week. ConnectingTheUniversePortal.com for that. So, all right. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Till next time.